All right. Dad is away. The boys are going to play. Dirty Modo. No Steve Letarte. He's on a boat in Greece. Lucky bastard. Tampa Timms here. The professor. You actually hear his voice this time because Steve's not here.
Yeah, my self-esteem's a lot higher this week. So
yeah, exactly. Not going to get picked on as much. Producer Trav. What beer we got today? Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet. We're in an office here at work today.
I know you're working. You're working.
But does Steve work though? Because wasn't he like 2 weeks ago? I feel like he was in the Bahamas. He was in Greece. Like he's in Greece now. Like, does he work?
Oh, they're planning their next trip right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible.
We had to move last week's taping for him. Like, I'm kind of glad he's gone this week, boys.
I know we get to have some fun. We got a big show. Nick Giffen joins us in a little bit. We got the Denny Hamlin bracket challenge, so we got a lot to talk about. But first, Professor, how's the gambling going? You hooked right now?
I'm a gambler now. I'm officially a gambler. I had a nice parlay that I hit last night. So in basketball.
Well,
so
hold on a
I'm
second.
Okay.
You didn't feel the need to share it?
No, I didn't want to brag.
No, not the win. Let us know the bet that we could have tailed. We all could have won.
Yeah, it was a last minute thing. I was bored.
Okay.
All right. Well, he's learning the process, Travis. He's learning that, no matter what the play is, you got to share it.
So I found hockey's the hardest thing to bet. Yeah. By far the hardest thing.
It's hard right now because it's one game a night, and it's really you could bet props, but if you're betting hockey props, I think you need to go call the number. But the side and the total, it's so hard in the playoffs right now.
I've been just betting the over. That's all I do.
I got that last night too. Travis, you've texted me a couple times of your degeneracy, and I'm gonna tell you what. When you're betting college lacrosse, you either know a guy on the inside, or you're absolutely bored at 3 a.m. watching highlights from the previous day.
Dude, Notre Dame was a wagon. I'm just upset that I didn't get in sooner on them. Dude, the Kavanaugh brothers, now they won back-to-back national championships. So Saturday and Monday took them, and actually on Monday I bet them two ways. I took them money line and a parlay, and then I said, there was plus money for minus 3.5 goals to win by. Hit it. I think I told Steve. I think Steve tailed it too. Like, when you find these lesser sports that aren't as popular, like that's where you can make some hay.
Well, you probably changed the line yourself. You're the only guy betting it.
I don't think the amount that I'm gambling is changing anything.
Well, no. Then Steve comes in and they got to call we got like an alert popping off because there's a ton of money going on Notre Dame lacrosse now.
There's like a $2 bet and then a 200, and then like wait a second.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody knows something.
The units are way different. Way different.
Yeah. But no, listen, they cash. So like, I'm just upset the season's over.
Is it? That's it?
Yeah, I bet him on the semifinals and the national championship.
All right, let's talk about Charlotte before we can talk about Gateway. Professor, how did the model do? Was the rain tough, or did the rain help us?
Yeah, I don't think we can. I don't think we should even look at the model because of the rain, right?
But how was the model projecting, though?
I have to figure out how to word this because Stevie yells at me every week. So, of the predicted top 9, 7 of them were in the top 10.
That's good.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a good for the rain and everything. I think that's who was the one that like was there one that you just missed on?
Yeah, it was Kyle Larson. He was my projected
That's a
winner.
big loss.
Well, that's not a miss though.
So I can't. He didn't even give me a chance.
That we can forgive you for that one. That projection is
the big
voided.
loss would have been Ryan Blaney was projected 9th. Accident. I can't.
He screwed me. I had him. So I took Charles Leclerc mid race and I parlayed it with a Blaney matchup, and then Blaney goes and the bet.
Yeah. So I was able to cash out on Leclerc too. Because I'm not allowed to bet on anything NASCAR property, so I was excited to be able to bet on F1. So,
yeah, the graphic. I don't know if you guys have seen the overtakes compared to F1 to IndyCar on Sunday was incredible. Especially if you had Max Verstappen to get a podium, then he didn't move out of 6th. That was tough. Yeah. But yeah, I never felt more comfortable betting a minus 230 in my life when I bet Charles Leclerc to win that race. Yeah, for me, thanks to the rain out, Christopher Bell winning, that was a check. Had Denny Hamlin top 5, Ross and Bowman for a top 10, and they came through. Bowman again, he's just a top 10 machine.
Spoiler alert for future, but Bowman is just a blind bet at this point.
I think you just got to ride it. Yeah, this week we'll get to it later, but this week it's a little bit worrisome. But I think you gotta reward the guy. I'll be honest though. I mean, Reddick probably could have won that race, but if it continued. But I thought the top 10 was pretty much 10 guys that were kind of deserving. Maybe 1 or 2 guys snuck in there, but I didn't think much changes at the top.
No, I would agree with you. Truex was the one that was running well that I would have thought, should have finished in there. Probably, you'd have probably had him instead of Josh Berry. But other than that, like you look at that rundown, there's no real surprises.
Yeah.
Timms, what happened with your Larson bets?
Yeah, so this was big. I bet Truex and Byron to beat Larson in a matchup, and it was really because I wanted to see what the books would do with Larson, right? So I bet him after the Indy 500 started, so I knew he wasn't going to make the start. And what I saw a lot of people was they ended up voiding the bets completely because he never even raced. I didn't see Allgaier was available as an option on the books, so I don't think he was even playable. And during the rain delay, I read up on the house rules on FanDuel, and if it's technically called an incorrect participant because he never participated, so it's a voidable bet. And that's very important to look up. And I saw a lot of people tweet at me that their parlays got voided or their plays got voided. And that's because he never raced. He was an incorrect participant. Now, if you placed an Indy 500, Coke 600 Kyle Larson parlay, and he didn't, I saw one that had a top 5 for Kyle Larson in Indy 500. He didn't finish top 5. You lost. They did not void that. So it's, again,
because
you have to look.
He completed one part of the leg.
I think that's a very important lesson to look at your house rules in situations like that. How do they pay out that scenario if he doesn't make it for future doubles? How does that work out? I think it also made it kind of Larson unplayable once he couldn't make the 600. I think you had to play against him and hope maybe the books gave you something. Because technically, as I was reading, they could not pay you out for the rain delay. But because NASCAR makes it an official race, they paid it out.
I wish we could have seen what would have happened had he got in the car and driven a lap.
I agree. If he drove a lap, I think we might have had a chance of that being non-voided, but I was afraid he might drive to the front. So
I think that would have been voided anyway because he would have never appeared anywhere on any documentation. Like Allgaier would have got credit for anything, no matter if he got in or not.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it would have been voided no matter what.
So no matter what you do, whoever starts the race gets complete credit in terms of NASCAR's official anything.
If he would have got in the car and they would have ran the rest of the race and he would have won the race, that would have been a win for Justin Allgaier. We can go on from there and say that his day the day before was ruined by you, Trav. Is that a good transition?
Oh.
And you almost got fired too, I saw.
I was hoping this.
Go ahead, tell the story. Go ahead, tell the story.
So right before the final caution, Chase Elliott is sitting at plus 750, and the broadcaster is talking about how he's still got a set of tires. All right, I got on a bet, and right before it dropped, Allgaier was sitting at 750 also. Fired that. And I was like, you know what? Sam Mayer, let me just get him. Just if he wins, it's a wash with my bets. We're good. But because he was at plus 300, so I had those 3. And I text the group and said, I just live bet these 3, but with the luck that I'm on right now, there's going to be a wreck. And I'll be damned if there wasn't one 60 seconds later. And I tweeted something, and boss lady Kelly saw it and said, please don't ever do this again. And then I tweeted, for those that are wondering, I also have Sam Mayer and Chase Elliott. And she said, oh no. And I thought, oh no, my key card's not going to work on Tuesday. It did work. I hate it for Justin and Sam, but at least Chase wanted some money in my pocket. But touch and go there.
That's awesome.
But I mean, I think the live betting if you're really paying attention to these races and seeing who's coming and going, and with strategies or whatever, is a way that you can get in there late and make a little money.
You could definitely make money live betting. I think if you know what to watch for and know what to pay attention with that scoring screen, you can totally make money live betting.
Because I'd be curious to know with all these betting apps, I'm guessing it's mostly just algorithms. It's not somebody in there monitoring as much, so they may not realize that somebody just short pitted and they're going to be able to make the pass, and so they're just seeing the one car is X, he's in 10th or whatever, but once everything cycles through, he's going to pop up first.
Well, I'd love to know if they knew about like the tire sets remaining, like because Chase Elliott had by far the best advantage in that last leg. So, like, I want to know if they account for that, because that's where your bet there paid off. That's why you won, because of those tires.
Yeah. I think I looked at it like 2 minutes after you, Travis, and it was already minus 160. So, but he was already up to like second or third. So
I got it as he was entering pit road, so he hadn't pitted yet. And then once he left, it was down to plus 200, and then it just kept dropping. So
I think that's a great little nugget, though. Like, if you got a guy like that they're watching, that he's short pitting, he's about to get these fresh tires or whatever, that's the opportunity to get him right when he gets to pit road.
And I'll say it, there's certain sports books that are a little slower to change their numbers. Like when it comes to live betting, I have the laptop open. I'm not on my cell phone because I can have multiple windows and I can just go.
Smart.
But we do have some winners. Justin Burton had William Byron top Chevy, Tyler Reddick to finish in the top 5. So that was a cash. We had somebody taking Alex Bowman in a group, and he cashed that. What else? We had all sorts of. Brent Weiss went with the Alex Bowman top 10, so I think he's on that blind train. Somebody did pre-race, took Chase Elliott to win the Xfinity race. He had a physical ticket. I don't know where this man's out in Vegas gambling because he has a physical ticket.
I love that.
Like that's some degeneracy because you're at the little kiosk printing those puppies out. So yeah, we had some good. I think this was a good weekend for our listeners.
I'm good. The rain could have went either way, so I'm glad they all cashed out. But let's move on to Gateway. Totally different track, totally different scene. Professor, what does the model say?
The model has a new guy other than Denny and Kyle at the top. It's my guy, Martin Truex Jr. at the top. And it's because he finished, I think he's top 6 in both Gateway races that we've had there. He's also, good at light tracks. That factors in more this week because of the only having 2 Gateway races. And then it's Larson again, Hamlin again, Byron, and then Blaney are my top 5. And this week, before we get started, because I'm going to put my stat at the beginning since Stevie's not here, but like the 4 guys I look for this year are all winless, all past champions, and all finished top 10 or top 6 actually in both Gateway races. It's Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., and Ryan Blaney. So those are the guys to look for this week for those reasons. And then the next little group there is Joey Logano, because he's won there, his third in his other start there. Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch. Like, I know it's tier 3 Kyle Busch, but he's good here.
What is it about Logano and Elliott? Because you have them higher on your model than Vegas. Vegas has them kind of Logano 11th and Elliott 13th kind of range.
Well, I think you just look at Logano. Like I said, he's been first and third there. He's always, good at Phoenix, where we talk about this kind of relates. I related a little bit to Richmond. He was runner-up at Richmond this year. And then also New Hampshire gets put in there. He was second at New Hampshire last year. So I know Team Penske's on a little bit of a slide here, and so is Logano. But I think he deserves to be in that high second tier this week.
Yeah. They always talk about, like, because it used to be a Xfinity Series track only or trucks track only, like guys have a ton of experience, but like Martin Truex Jr., that experience was 20 years ago. You know, it's kind of crazy, but he's ran well there. I'm with you. For the books, they kind of are right on with you, Professor, but I think of the favorites. I like Truex at plus 850. I really do. Like you said, he's good here both times. Just kind of feels like, when's he finally going to win? And he's been so consistent this year. It really has. Like, maybe not a lot of laps led like a traditional Truex year, but he's right there. Like, seems like 4th to 12th every race.
And to your point, Truex is 5th in the books, so you can actually get a decent price with him. Whereas, like, if you're betting a Hamlin, you're getting 550.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me to bet on Truex.
So, I mean, I can't believe you didn't come on with a shirt. Like, you're the president of the fan club. Like, do we have a party planned for if he wins? Or
if he wins, I'll have a shirt on next week for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. When was his last win?
I believe it was New Hampshire last year.
Professor, I want to get your opinion on this guy. There's another guy I kind of like, is Brad Keselowski. He's 12-1, which I think is good value. I'm not positive really on his Gateway success, but he's red hot right now. Won at Darlington, led the only other lap besides Logano at North Wilkesboro, 2nd at Charlotte. I mean, is he a good bet?
So he's one where I would just throw out his Gateway performance, right? He was 20th and 28th in his 2 Gateway starts. But, like, you look at him lately, like you said, 1st, 2nd, and 2nd, really. Like, the last couple races. He's been top 2 in 4 of the last 6-point races. So, and Ford's just been better and better. And it's not Penske. It's Roush, you know. So I'm with you. I think you got to throw him out. I know the model doesn't have him as good, but I'm with you.
So let me ask you this then, Professor. Chris Buescher, who usually runs, him and Keselowski basically just next to each other, you can get him a little better odds. Is that something then?
Yeah, so he only had that one start at Gateway because he had COVID in the other one. So he lacks a little bit on the model with history. But I think that's why he's just a little below him. But I think they're neck and neck. I wouldn't put one in front of the other. It's whichever one you like better.
And to my point, like, you caught neck and neck, but Vegas, Keselowski plus 1,200, Buescher plus 1,800. So I feel like that's a big difference in the books.
Yeah, I just think that's recent performance, and you know, Keselowski's a bigger name, right? Like, so I think that has a little bit to do with it too.
Yeah, I think Buescher, like, I think compared, like, they run the same car. They're basically the most identical cars in the field, I would say. Mm-hmm. But I think Buescher still, there's not a lot of value on him. I think I'd like him a little bit higher in the 2s if you're going to win. If you're looking at, like, we'll probably get to it later, but top Ford, I'd want him a little higher in that too. Like, I don't know. I don't think the value's there. I'd rather take Keselowski.
Professor, is there any driver on the model that you kind of disagree with personally?
I think the one that we should look at a little more is Chase Briscoe. Like, this kind of seems like his kind of track. He's won a pole here. Like, he's been sneaky good at Phoenix. Like, this kind of compares to Phoenix. And I think he's like 60-1, right?
He's 60-1, and you could a top 10 at plus 200.
Yeah, so I would say the top 10 bet is obviously a good bet. You know, I think your only other value down here is Bowman, right? Like, I think, you know, we can all agree on that. And then, like, those, you know, Stewart Haas cars after the news this week, like, how do they run? Like, that's the only thing that I think is interesting.
Yeah, so let's move to some top 5s, top 10s. Personally, I've never really been a top 5 bettor. Denny Hamlin top 5 last week was my first kind of forte into it. It was even money. And I think I'm going back to it. Now, my strategy here is not to pick a lot of them. You kind of just pick one because there's only 5 spots, right? If you're going to pick one, if you're going to pick more than one.
Wait,
yeah, there's only 5 spots. Can you believe that? There's only 5 guys can finish top 5. It's crazy, right? Math. But Denny has finished in the top 5 4 times in a row, and he's minus 135 right now. I'm hoping that goes down when he doesn't qualify as well and gets me near even money. But he's 6 for his last 10. I think that's a pretty surefire bet.
So you gonna wait on that?
Professor, how does Denny do you think, qualifying there?
He was 6th and 3rd.
Yeah, so you might get a little drop, but I don't think you're going to see much.
Yeah,
Timms.
you're not going to get a drop if he qualifies there.
But I don't think you're going to see it go like to minus 150 though either. So at least wait and see to make sure the car is what it is.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I mean, 135 is not terrible. You could take that now, and I think it'd be fine. But like, is nerve wracking for a top 5.
Oh, you're sweating because a pit stop. If you choose the wrong lane in the other lane on the restart, like there's so many things that you're gonna be sweat. You better have a lot of beers next to you.
Yeah, and last week at Charlotte, they were having a lot of problems on pit road, and he fell back every single time.
What if I told you this? So Denny has 7 top 10s this year. 6 of them are top 5s. So like, it's better to just bet the top 5, right, than the top 10
at that price.
Like, you'd never bet the top 10, but
Right,
so if you're going to bet him for a top 10, you just should bet him for a top 5.
What is that? 6 out of the 7 top 10s he's got, top 5s?
Yes.
All right, I might just have to hammer that during the show when Travis starts talking.
I think right now, just go ahead and put your thumb or your Face ID and just fire that bet off. While you're doing that, Timms, do you have another top 5 that you might? I know you said you were going to do one. Is there anybody else that you might look at?
I do like Keselowski plus 150. We talked about him to win, but I mean, it's just riding the hot hand. I mean, 3 of his last 5 races, like we said, first and second, the last 2 races. I might throw something on that. Professor,
I would do Larson over him.
Larson.
Yeah, because you know that top 5 stat I gave. He has 6 top 10s this year. All of them are top 5s.
And I'll add, I also think that you can't equate this, but I think there's also part of Larson that, like, he's pissed off that he didn't get a race last week in the 600. Like, he's a motivated dude that, like, he's gonna, like, there's all this waiver talk and everything, and, like, what would be better than him just to, like, show up and win or have a really great race and be like, hey, I hope y'all enjoyed that race where I didn't get to acquire points. I'm back.
Yeah. Have they talked about him getting a playoff waiver yet? Is he getting one?
It hasn't been announced as of this taping, but I tweeted at Jeff Gluck because he was like, not sure what took it so long. If I'm NASCAR, I'm holding this thing on because people are talking about it. Keep the dialogue going.
Yeah, I mean, he fell from 1st to 3rd in the standings. So I think you're right. There's something about that.
That's a punishment alone right there, because think about it. If he doesn't overcome that, that's first place is 15 playoff points.
Yeah.
Like that's not like something to sneeze at.
Yeah. I think he lost like 36 points in the regular season.
That's a lot.
And you think about it, when you're at the top, each race you're just trying to gain like 5 or some points, just because it's hard, because everybody's up there. It's hard to gain 36 over Kyle Larson. You will never see that in one race. Unless he wrecks like lap 1.
Top 10s.
Just stamp Alex Bowman.
Stamp Alex Bowman. He's plus 150. But I feel like the Professor, you're gonna try to talk me off of this. I said small play. So don't keep hammering down. I'd say small play in his top 10 just because he's been so good to us. I mean, look at these numbers: 8 for 10 and 5 for his last 5. That's incredible.
Like 2 units.
1. He's 13th and 26th here.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can really look at past performance when you look at, like, because this is the best streak of his career. He's never been this good in a streak like this. So, so this is uncharted territory for him. So I wouldn't just look at his performance at Gateway. I think it's a similar situation with Brad Keselowski. I don't hate this bet, especially when it's plus money.
I think I get the question all the time is when you're riding these streaks. I've wrote it, 5 for 5 here, but like, when do you get off of it? He's eventually going to crack. And the rule in other sports, if there's like a long winning streak, is like if they lose 2 in a row, like, all right, then you're off. for Bowman, I think it's kind of the same thing. If he doesn't get it here, fine. We'll see what his number is next week at Sonoma. Oh, Sonoma, I don't think he's that good there. So
yeah, that
might not be.
That's where you get off the train.
Yeah, that's when you get off the train. I agree. I don't think we play him Sonoma regardless, but I don't know. We'll give it a shot. There's a couple long shots I really do like, and again, they're long shots, and you're kind of hoping something happens. Michael McDowell, plus 600. Austin Cindric, plus 600. Austin Cindric, this might be his best oval track besides a super speedway or a drafting track.
Yeah, but he's just struggled so much this year. Like, again, how much does past performance come into account here? Yeah, he's been 11th and 13th here, but has run well. Like, he's run inside the top 10 here. But I just, like, you look at his season, it's been rough, man. Like, it's rough.
Yeah, he hasn't even been in the conversation. Does he have a top 10 this year?
At Atlanta, that's his only top 10.
Okay. That's
and it's his only finish better than 15th. Like, when we say no top 10s, it's not like he's sniffing around at 11th, 12th, 13th. Like, I understand what you're saying with his numbers there. I would still prefer McDowell. I'm on with your McDowell.
McDowell, I mean, look, I'm looking at the guys that are right after Bowman. It's the Stewart Haas cars of Gregson, Berry, Briscoe, plus 200. Probably warranted there right there. But then you got Suarez at plus 350. Eric Jones with the back injury still at plus 400. Then it's McDowell and Austin Dillon. We know he's going to finish 32nd. Cindric. Like, I don't know how McDowell keeps getting put at 6-1 for a top 10 when he's arguably right around 8th to 15th, 16th every week.
Yeah. Stevie lit a fire under his ass. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, for real. For real. All right, well, you heard from us about our winners and top 10s. I want to bring in a guy. I've been following him for a couple years now. Nick Giffen at RotoDoc on Twitter. Nick is the predictive analyst at the Action Network and the host of the Running Hot podcast. Nick, thanks for joining the program, brother.
Great to be here, guys.
Let's jump right into it, man. Gateway, coming off the Coke 600. Gateway, kind of a totally different track. Been there. This is like the third year we've been there. I'll throw you right in the fire. Who do you like and who you trying to play on this week?
Yeah, so right now, my model is showing outright value on 3 different outrights. But of the favorites, I think the one that I like the most and I agree with my model on the most is Ryan Blaney at 9-1. I have a metric called track quality, which is basically just how good are you at a certain track relative to your baseline average, right? So that adjusts for each driver because, Ryan Blaney is one of the better drivers in the series. And if you're comparing him to, let's say, Daniel Hemrick's track quality, all he has to do is be a little bit better than his very bad average, and Blaney has to be better than his very good average. So for Blaney to have the second best track quality among all drivers means he has to be the second highest above his own average of all the drivers, and he already has a great average track, So this is a very good track for Ryan Blaney. His average finish is 5.0 here, finished 4th and 6th in the 2 races. He's led 95 laps combined, 70 fastest laps between the 2 races, and it's been pretty consistent, right? He's led laps in over 12 laps in both races, 38 and 32 fastest laps. And also, when we look at comparable tracks to Gateway, it's kind of hard to find maybe the best comparables, but I would say Phoenix is probably the best, given it's a little bit lower tire wear, a little bit larger of the flatter tracks, and we all know Ryan Blaney is absolutely dominant at Phoenix. Also dominant at Martinsville, which is more flat like Gateway would be than Phoenix is, so I think he's good value here. Plus, we've seen Ford has kind of been on the comeback a little bit the last few weeks with his teammate Joey Logano winning the All-Star race. We saw Brad Keselowski get a win here, so I like Ryan Blaney as like my favorite right now at 9-1.
Awesome. How much do you put into stock that he's kind of had a couple of rough weeks? I think finished dead last at the Coke 600. Do you put any stock into that, or you just go pretty much track specific and like he's good here, just trust the track?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a recent form thing, but my recent form tends to be around somewhere in the neighborhood of a 10 to 15 race sample size. It can adjust a little bit based off the specific track or based off of if we find there are more dramatic changes in the series than normal. My model has a way of figuring that out. But so looking at kind of a longer term sample for Ryan Blaney, I'm not too worried about overall recent form, especially with, like I said, Ford kind of being on the comeback here.
Awesome. How about any of those, kind of long shots? For me personally, like I don't really include like the super long shots. Anyone kind of above like 10 to 12 to 1, I kind of consider a long shot now. Since this year it's been like, the top 2 teams of Hendrick and JGR winning all the races. Anyone in those ranges you're kind of looking at?
For me, it's pretty tough in that teens range. So I'm actually going to go to Ross Chastain at 22 to 1. Now you have to specifically get him at 22, not 20 to 1. Because that's where the tipping point is in my model. I technically have plus 2050 as fair value, so I would only bet him longer than that. And in 2022, he had a really strong car here. He finished 8th, but that was despite the race where, he got into Denny Hamlin. Denny didn't like that at all, started harassing him on the track, literally like air blocking, not just air blocking him, but just straight up like blocking him. And then the same thing happened with Chase Elliott. So both Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney are just hounding Ross Chastain like for a good chunk of that race, and Ross still comes back and finishes 8th. So actually his underlying numbers of like average running position, driver rating, those types of things can actually be a little undervalued from that 2022 race. 2023 didn't go amazing for him, but again, like Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, you could say, is probably a top 3 to 5 driver at Phoenix, which I think would be probably the best comparable track here. So while Trackhouse hasn't been in the best form, we did see a little bit of uptick in form at the Coca-Cola 600, which is, I guess, a little bit notable in that it's the intermediate package here rather than using the shorter road course type package at the other shorter, flatter tracks. So maybe that matters a little bit, but at least that was encouraging to see that bounce back in form for Trackhouse, even though they didn't necessarily get the finishes that they wanted at the Coca-Cola 600.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've followed you on Action Network for a while now, and I've seen some bets that have rolled in for you. You're very good at finding some long shot value, whether it's top 10s or even like I know you had Christian Rasmussen for the Indy 500, which I thought was a great pick, even though he didn't win. I thought it was a good long shot value. Who's a guy here that you're looking at like there's long shot value, whether it's top 10, whether it's a long matchup, anything like that, where you kind of see, hey, this guy could really shock you, make you some good money?
Yeah, I'll give 2 real quick. One's an outright, and one's a top 10. So for my long shot outright, very, very thin value on Alex Bowman at 40 to 1. That's like 2.4% implied odds, that he would need to have a higher chance than of winning. And I have 2.8%, so it's super thin. And I don't love it because Alex Bowman tends to be better at the higher tire wear tracks. That's where we see him get most of his wins. But he can still get it done, and he has the most top 10s in the series this year, tied with his teammate William Byron. So he's been finishing well enough. Maybe we get a late restart, that kind of thing, which is how we could hit that 40 to 1. That's how he won Richmond, for example, when he won his Richmond race. He was kind of just hanging around in the top 5. Late restart, takes the lead, wins the race. So long shot value on Alex Bowman, 40 to 1. It's super thin, though. I wouldn't bet it below 35. And then for a top 10, long shot top 10, this is my favorite. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 20 to 1. I hate to say it, but the dude was really good here last year at Gateway. He spent every single lap inside the top 15 except the final lap that he ran, which was he got crashed into by that Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon little matchup where they got kind of heated with each other, and one of them got hooked right into Stenhouse, and Stenhouse had nowhere to go. But he spent every single lap inside the top 15, including 60% of his laps inside the top 10 last year. So that was some encouraging. If they're able to replicate that performance, 20 to 1 is just bonkers value for a top 10 finish. In that race, he had the 9th best average running position among all drivers. So, I mean, for a guy who basically was a top 10 car last year, getting him 20 to 1, I think is a little bit crazy.
Well, Nick, that's all I got for you. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, actionnetwork.com or in the Action Network app. For the Action app, it's Nick_Giffen. And, I write up a motorsports article usually around once a week, either midweek or for the weekend. I alternate that with my buddy PJ Walsh at the Action Network. So, find me there and get ready for NFL season as well, because that's going to be fun. Awesome.
Follow him. He's a good follow. Trust me. I've been doing it for a while. Nick Giffen, thank you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Should we move on to the bracket challenge?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I love this. I love this concept.
The Denny Hamlin Bracket Challenge, it's back to fill out your bracket. It's open now, and it closes at 3 p.m. on Sunday, right before the green flag flies. So visit dirtymomedia.com/bracket challenge to enter. Gentlemen, have you filled out your bracket yet?
I have.
I'm very confident with it too.
Should we go through the whole bracket? Let's see how far we get. It goes from this week at Gateway, then Sonoma, then what's after Sonoma?
Iowa, then
Then
New Hampshire, then the championship at Nashville.
Okay. Good
Dude,
little
what a
5-race
party!
stretch here.
What a party if you win it in Nashville. I'm going to Broadway, celebrating. I'm assuming that we have like a massive trophy to give them that you can drink out of, the Wanamaker. Like that's what we need to give them.
That would be sweet. Nice little trophy.
But I think Denny Hamlin is the 1 seed. Elliott's the 4 seed. Larson's the 3. I think. Who's the 2? Oh, Truex. I think we can confidently push them along, right, to the second round.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I think there's only like 3 or 4 that you need to really look at in the.
What are the Professor? Before you go into detail, what are the matchups that people should actually like pay attention to in this first round?
Like who?
Yeah.
So I would say that Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano won. Like I know Joey Logano is really good here, but Chase Briscoe, this is his kind of track too, and Logano's really struggled recently. Then I would pay attention again to Blaney Gregson, which is a very similar situation. Blaney should be good here, but Gregson is a little unknown. He's raced here in other series, and he's run well compared to Blaney recently. Then I think Timms, you should pay attention to the Truex and Austin Dillon one, right? Like who do you have there?
Listen, he's on a great stretch of 27th place finishes. I think he's going to really shock the world, and Martin Truex Jr. is going to win this round easily. I don't even know why we're talking about it. I'd bet a mortgage on it if you could.
What other ones do you like?
I'm kind of with you. I think a lot of this first round should go pretty to par. I mean, McDowell versus Chastain's probably my biggest upset, which really, I mean, just because Chastain's a 10 and McDowell's 23, it's an upset. But I don't know. I think this is like a 7-8 NCAA tournament or 8-9. I think McDowell's got a really good shot there. Plus,
I
Sonoma.
like McDowell, but Chastain's been good here too. Has been really good here.
Chastain, I feel like, has just been kind of steady Eddie this year. Just he hasn't won yet, but continually he's just kind of in that middle, like that right around 10, and just getting points and not having bad races, and you just assume at some point it's going to cash in.
Yeah, there's another one I think that it's not as close as I think the seeds think, and it's Buescher at 15 seed and Suarez an 18 seed. It's got to be Buescher all day.
And twice on Sunday.
Yeah, and twice on Sunday.
Outside of his win, what has Suarez done this year?
It's been pretty bad. He's got a 5th at Texas. That's his only other top 10.
Yeah, it's Buescher all day. Should we go through all the rounds and find our champions?
Yeah, I think that the second round's the most intriguing because it's at Sonoma. So I think you have a lot of upset opportunity here.
Yeah. So considering we all have Denny beating Justin Haley and I have Logano beating Briscoe at Gateway. I don't know what you guys have.
I do as well.
I've got Denny winning it all. So
who do you have Briscoe versus Logano at Gateway?
I have Logano.
Logano. All right, so we're all on Logano. Second round Sonoma, Hamlin Logano. Travis has Denny moving on. Professor, who do you got?
I have Denny moving on as well.
Me too.
Even though his road courses have struggled a little bit recently, but I still think he's good enough to get by.
I agree. I think Penske struggles. I don't know if a road course is the best thing for them to go to.
Yeah.
Then we got Keselowski beats Hocevar and Bowman beats John Hunter Nemechek in the first round, meaning a 8-9 matchup of Keselowski and Bowman. This one's interesting with the tear Bowman's on and Keselowski.
This is an interesting. I don't even think it's close.
No?
No. Brad K has 1 top 10 in the last 10 road course races. Bowman has 8 top 10s over the same time period.
All right, I'm literally right now. I just made my change. Bracket is being updated.
I bet Bowman. You're right.
I had Brad Keselowski, but Professor, you've won me over already.
Yeah, that's where this Sonoma being the second round is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. We've only been to Coda's the only road course we've been to this year, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean Sonoma's been on the schedule forever. I just assume these veterans have somewhat figured it out, but I think you are right. Brad Keselowski is not the road course ace that other drivers are.
Well, we just talked about Bowman's top 10s. Are you saying he's good enough to beat Keselowski, but in terms of top 10, though, not so much at Sonoma?
Right. Well,
okay.
Yes.
Or he's on that fringe where you'd be a little
He's right
cautious.
On that fringe, yeah.
Okay, cool. I think I should edit that part out, guys. I want to keep that information for myself in my bracket about Bowman versus Keselowski.
Yeah, that's good. The next, Chase Elliott would beat Daniel Hemrick at Gateway, and then you have the Bubba Wallace-Austin Cindric matchup at Gateway, which was actually my first upset. I have Cindric beating Bubba. So I have Chase versus Cindric in this Sonoma round.
Okay. But I think we can both agree who should go on from there, though, right?
Chase Elliott, yes, 100%.
Yes. Yeah, even though he hasn't won a lot lately, I think he has the most top 5s in the next gen car on the road courses.
Yeah, I agree. And like we said, Team Penske and Cindric, they've just been horrible this year for that side of the bracket. The Blaney-Gregson round 1 we talked about, tough matchup. I still have Blaney moving on. He'd face William Byron in the second round as Byron gets by Preece. That's a tough Sonoma matchup.
I've got Byron, and I think no matter if it's Blaney or Gregson, it's still Byron. Professor, do you?
I'm with you on Byron.
I agree. 3 for 3 on Byron. Austin Dillon crashes first round. Truex beats him. Then Buescher beats Suarez. So you got the Truex and Buescher one.
Timms, I think if somehow Truex wrecks or whatever and Austin Dillon moves on, you need to wear an Austin Dillon t-shirt next week on the podcast.
I'll buy head to toe Austin Dillon. I'll buy the whole suit.
I think you've got to wear something if, God forbid, he knocks off the 2 seed.
I'll buy a fire suit, and I will wear it. I'll wear it the whole week.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'll sleep in it. I won't take that thing off.
Hey, this is the matchup, though. That's the biggest matchup of Sonoma, in my opinion.
Truex
you have
versus Buescher.
Truex, the defending Sonoma winner. He's won 4 times there, including 3 of the last 5. But then you have Buescher, who's finished top 5 in the last 2 Sonoma races, and his worst finish in the last 12 road course races is 11th. So those are like 2 road course monsters going up against each other.
Who do you got?
Come on, there's no question who I got.
He's literally legally not allowed to go against.
Yeah.
I have Truex too. I do. I have Truex winning the whole thing. I mean, I think
I do too.
This is
That's
the tough
my guy.
There you go.
You guys are biased.
I actually have Hamlin beating him in Nashville, but yeah.
I think this is probably his toughest matchup, and
for sure,
if he gets through it, I think he's got a pretty good clear path to Nashville. So, the last 3 in round 2 are pretty tight too. Chastain versus Gibbs, the first one. I have Chastain passing McDowell.
But what if McDowell can pull off the upset?
That's why it's interesting. Because if McDowell does, Gibbs is a pretty good little road racer too.
Yeah, he's been top 5 the last 3 road course races, so
yeah.
I have him moving on, no matter what.
Trav, what do you got?
I have Gibbs moving on.
Yeah, I do too.
I feel like I must know my stuff if I'm agreeing with Professor for the most part.
This is all going to go horribly wrong then.
Yeah.
I have Larson versus. I have Berry beating Kyle Busch, so it's the Kyle Busch versus Berry over Larson. I think it's all Larson. If I'm going to pick an upset guy, I think Berry, after the news and Rodney Childers is his crew chief, I think that's the team that's going to perform.
I feel like they're going to show up. Russ, what do you think?
I actually went with Kyle Busch here. He's just been so good at Gateway. And he hasn't been bad this year. He's just been so streaky.
You know what it is for me is it's like I have in every bracket you ever do, doesn't matter the sport, you know there's going to be an upset or two there. So it's like that's one of the ones that like I'm just picking, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. I'll live with it. But I also don't have him going on after that too. So
yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat Larson at any of these tracks, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the last round 2 matchup would be Christopher Bell versus Tyler Reddick as the 2 favorites and their matchups to move on. Another tough one.
Another good one. This is a great one.
is this the best second round matchup?
It's between that one and the Truex Busher one. But Reddick has been so bad at Sonoma. His best finish there is 19th. But he has the most wins in next-gen car on the road courses. So that's a tough one. And Bell hasn't been great at Sonoma either. So I love this one.
Who do you have going on, Professor?
I have Bell going on.
Ooh, I have Reddick.
I have Reddick too.
Good, thank goodness. I was worried.
All right, round 3, Iowa. Half repave of Iowa.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that, but
little wrench in the plans. The Hamlin versus Bowman / Keselowski, whoever you pick. Keselowski did the tire test.
I know.
Any advantage? Does Denny still?
I think Denny still will do it, but
yeah. Denny's,
Trav, you're a homer.
Also,
to pick you.
Well, and also you got to think Denny is definitely. Well, Brad would be aware of the bracket too, but you know that Denny is, and like, and so like that's the other thing is like which drivers are truly aware and paying attention to the bracket and like who they're up against, like, and be aggressive around that driver. And Denny is one that you know will be that way.
Yeah, it's also I think Bowman, if he gets there, that's where the streak's kind of over, and I think we see the downfall. But we'll see. Now we've got heavy hitters here. We got inter-team matchups with these next 2. Chase Elliott versus William Byron. Man, I mean, if you're going head-to-head, I think Byron's the guy.
It's a coin flip, really.
Yeah. It is, but, man, I don't know. It's like the Larson-Byron thing. I think you'd make more money if you bet Byron head-to-head.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
I'm going with Byron.
You go Byron?
But I like Chase, so I'd like to see him pull it off, but I'm going Byron just because I think more than likely, you know where Byron's going to finish, where Chase sometimes kind of has an off week where I think the variance for Byron's finishing position is less.
Yeah, Byron's won there too, so.
Yeah. And he was more Xfinity when that was Xfinity track, so I would take that. JGR, Truex versus Ty Gibbs.
No question for me.
Yeah.
I picked Ty.
Really?
Just one of those, like, you know what? Let's throw it out there.
All right. Anyone got Reddick or Bell upsetting Larson?
No chance.
No chance.
I picked
You did
Reddick.
the tire test there too, right?
Wait.
I think
what?
Larson did, yeah.
Who'd you pick, Timms?
I picked
They
Reddick.
both did.
You picked Reddick?
Oh, Reddick did too?
No, Bell and Larson. Why do you have Reddick there? Man.
I picked Reddick over Bell.
Yeah.
Were you drinking?
No,
I might have.
Larson did the tire test there, and he's a short track guy. Larson's been 6th or better in 9 of the last 10 short track races.
Dude, next week you're going to be wearing Austin Dillon pajamas, and in like 4 weeks you're going to be saying, why did I doubt Larson?
I mean, probably, but it's just one of those things where I can't have the 1, 2, and 3 seeds make it. Someone's gonna wreck out.
So I would agree with you normally, but this year I feel like there's a big separation between Byron, Larson, Hamlin, and the rest that you have to take those guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Professor?
Totally agree with you.
it's an underdog pick for sure. He's not making it past the next round anyway. So, all right, the final 4. Trav, who's your final 4?
I've got DH, Byron, Ty Gibbs, and Larson.
Who you got moving to the championship?
Who do you think? Denny versus Larson.
Professor,
Spice
what do
it
you got?
up.
So I have Denny, Chase Elliott, Truex and Larson, and then Hamlin versus Truex in the championship. And I just have Hamlin win the championship because he's won the last 3 races on concrete. So
Wait, so you're picking DH?
DH because of his
What?
concrete prowess.
So does the Martin Truex Jr. fan club, are they aware of this yet?
Yeah, they understand it's going to be 1-2 finish. You know?
Okay. Timms?
I'm kind of on Professor's train there. I have Hamlin, Byron, Truex, and Reddick are my final 4. And then it's Hamlin and Truex going to the championship. But I have Truex. I don't want Denny to have to interview himself after all this, so I'd rather have him interview Martin.
That's the one thing where, like, I want DH to win, but with the podcast, last year Byron won and came on, so it's like, would the winner come on again this year? Because I'd prefer another driver to come on, and, you know, especially if it's like a Larson or somebody, and let's, you know, have that conversation.
Yeah. There's a speeding penalty in here somewhere for Denny that's going to ruin his chances somewhere. And I feel like if he's going head-to-head with Truex, that's a pretty good spot.
Just as long as Buscher's not in front of him in the pit stall, we're good.
All right, bracket challenge. Now we're going to talk about top Ford. I have Brad Keselowski plus 300 kind of being my top Ford. I'm heavy on Brad this week. However, I wouldn't mind sprinkling a little bit on a Stewart-Haas car, a Briscoe, a Berry, a Noah. They're all in that 13 to 16 to 1 range. That's really good value for a top Ford. And it's strictly based off the news boost. We said earlier, Professor, that Briscoe was pretty good. He's really good at Phoenix, sneaky good there. There's some good value with top Fords. I think out of the manufacturers, that's probably where I'd look.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Those 3 right there, Barry, Briscoe, Gregson, is where I would look for your top Ford.
Yeah,
like just because of that juice you're getting there, like that's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And like people would say, like, why don't you bet Busch your top Ford? It's because I want 700 to 900 if he's gonna be a top Ford plus 450. I don't know if I can do that. Yeah. So anything else for the Cup race, guys? Are you guys good there?
Well, I have top Toyota.
What do you got there?
Professor, I need you to be objective here, but Truex at plus 400, I'm looking at that as this is a Hamlin versus Truex kind of deal. He's like, the other guy's going to be up there, but so take those 2. Truex plus 400 to beat Hamlin, I feel like is a number to look at.
Yeah, because that's almost like a head-to-head bet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Just don't tell Denny.
No, I'm gonna tweet it to him. Xfinity's in Portland, so pretty unique. I think there's some really good value on the Xfinity side of this thing, Professor. I mean, there's a couple ringers that I think could get the job done, and I got 2 highlighted: Parker Kligerman, 22 to 1; Sage Karam, 50 to 1. I mean, Sage has been wrecking everybody to try to go get a win.
Yeah, I know, but you're still gonna have to beat like Allmendinger there, SVG, like, and then Mayer's been really good, and then Allgaier, like, and then Custer won there last year. It's gonna be hard. Like, that's.
You think it's a heavy hitter? It's a heavy hitters race.
Yeah, I think it's a heavy hitters race. Like, you even look at the books, like they go like Creed, 10 to 1, and then it's just a big fall off.
So let me ask you this: what about Sam Mayer? Well, first I need to get permission from Kelly if I can make any bets. But what about Sam Mayer versus Creed minus 120?
I would take that bet, and just because Creed is great on the road courses, but that team has had so many weird things happen to him this year, mechanical problems, and last year he got into it with somebody. I forget who he got into it with last year, but it's just I think Mayer's easily, that's the best bet on the board right there.
And Mayer won there last year, right?
He didn't win there last year. Custer won there last year.
Is there anything else you think that the books they missed, Professor?
I think it's interesting that SVG comes in and he's 2 to 1, right? Like,
I think the books don't know what to do with him. The fans are kind of want to bet on him, so they're just like, let's just put him up there and, manage our risk.
Yeah.
If you listen to Chris Rice on Door Bumper Clear this week, he was kind of talking a little bit about the SVG AJ kind of road course, friendly rivalry they have, and he was saying, SVG's like just as quick as AJ in that car, or he's right there behind him. So
yeah, he is. But I still think it's interesting. AJ's won like 11 or 12 road course races in Xfinity, and he's equal to SVG.
Yeah,
he's won one race.
Well, and here's the thing with SVG too is he's currently sitting 15th in the standings points. So like he needs to have a good day because we talk about the road courses are his spot that he's got to hit. So it's like he's got to take advantage of something like this. So you wonder if he'll kind of push it, which is why I think like a top 5 would make me nervous because he's going to go for the win. He's going to go for broke maybe.
Yeah, and this is like their only race before the playoffs. It's a road course that the other like Cup guys wouldn't be at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna have some Cup interlopers at Sonoma. You're gonna have some at, I think William Byron was announced at Watkins Glen. So it's this is a big opportunity for them. I think the other one that's interesting is Josh Bilicki. I know you're never gonna hear me say this, but he's in a Gibbs car this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's been he's a road course guy. I just don't know that there's enough value there for it. But
I wish we could get top 10. I wish we could get top 10s.
Yeah, top 5 at plus 300. Do you think that's worth a little bit of a small play?
Yeah, he's just one we would never normally mention, but that's why he's up there in the 22-1 range.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's good. That's a good opportunity for him.
But are you going to make any Xfinity bets, or is this another one of those Russ gives out some advice and then we reconvene next week and I wasn't awake or something?
No, I will put some. I like that there's not really a big Cup, intertwine. I like that they're on a totally different track, totally different handicap. And honestly, it's kind of fun to bet the road courses, even though it can kind of be a show sometimes. Because, even though SVG and AJ and Mayer, they're kind of who you're probably target. I don't know, a guy like, Sage Karam's been battling for the lead, I think, the last couple road courses. So, maybe you throw him on top 5. I don't know. I'm with you, Trav, though. If there was top 10s, I'd be all over the Xfinity board. I think there's a lot of ringers you could put in the top 10. That Austin Green kid is back in that race, and he finished top 10 at Coda. So, all right. Well, we held down the ship. We held it down. Steve will be back from Greece next week, hopefully. Who knows? He might be on another vacation.
Yeah, he's going on another vacation. I don't know if he's fitting us in or what, but I know he's got another trip.
If he was a friend, he would take us with him and we could tape remote.
Yeah, we could do this from Greece. Be nice. But, all right. Till next week, Dirty Modo without Steve Letarte.